clinical trial in South Africa and the continent for a vaccine against COVID-19 begins this week. The trial aims to find a vaccine that will prevent infection by the virus that causes COVID-19. We're joined now by Professor Helen Rees, who is the chairperson of the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority. She joins us via Zoom. Helen, good morning to you. What a landmark moment for South Africa.
It is. I mean, it's a first for the continent and a first for the country. And most importantly, it's an incredibly important step, one of many that's going on around the world, to get a vaccine that we desperately...
Helen, the recent stats that I saw from last week suggest that South Africa has contributed 30% of all cases on the African continent, suggesting that, perhaps we are doing ourselves a big favor globally here by trying to redeem ourselves, because the numbers in Africa certainly are rising incredibly quickly.
Well, it could be that the countries, many of the countries on the continent are behind us on the curve, the upswing of the curve, and perhaps they haven't got as much capacity as South Africa has to test and identify positive cases. But certainly it's not good news for us that we are on an upswing, and it's obviously related to the relaxation of the lockdown. We anticipated this would happen, and sadly it is happening because people are finding it very hard or not willing to adhere to these non-pharmaceutical interventions we've asked people to stick to.
Now, Helen, please correct me if I'm wrong here, but I've read that apparently very good news suggests that this is affordable and very easy to develop. That is what you want to hear when you are hoping to try and develop and perfect a vaccine that can cure something like this.
Well, there are already over 200 different what we call candidate vaccines. These are vaccines in development worldwide. This one was one of the earliest that were invested in globally, and it was developed by Oxford University, and it's in partnership with a pharmaceutical company. But the different technologies for these different vaccines, we don't want only one sort of technology, because if that fails, then the whole project will fail for many different vaccines. So there are many different types of vaccines in development that will work in slightly different ways. This one is one of the earliest to go into clinical trials in the United Kingdom. There are about 14 other early clinical trials around the world now, testing different formulations of vaccine. We don't know yet what the cost will be. Vaccine development is not cheap, but there's been enormous global investment, both from the private sector, but also very importantly from countries and from philanthropic organizations into developing vaccines.
Well, we certainly will be keeping a very close eye on it. Helen, thank you very much for your time.